Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like these. Now, let's get into today's story video.
I, 31 male, am sterile. Fiancé, 27 female, miraculously got pregnant. Baby looks nothing like me. How do I address this? This was our first child after many years of trying. My husband and I soon found out that I was infertile. We decided to accept it and to stop putting up so much effort, claiming that we would figure out what I should do in the future later. It was obvious that we were having despite the fact that we weren't trying it. We found out he was pregnant after she missed her period for a few days and we were shocked. I was ecstatic and thought it was amazing. I was not alone in thinking it was fantastic. We made light of the fact that she got pregnant as soon as we stopped trying. In the words of the doctor, the child was a miracle. There was nothing I could have done to be more happy on the night when the baby was born. I couldn't wait to bring her home because I was excited at the prospect of being a parent. My attention was immediately drawn to her pale appearance after just a few days of caring for her. In case you're wondering, I'm black and she's white, just in case you're wondering. I was certain that she'd darken a little bit over time, and I didn't want to overthink the situation. Then our friends came, and while the ladies were inside, we were enjoying ourselves in the backyard. They all stated they didn't want to concern me or cause difficulties, but they wanted to know whether I had ever had any suspicions that my fiancé was cheating on me, or if I had ever suspected him of cheating on me. At first, I felt I was being odd, but after a while, I realized what they were getting at. I answered in the negative, and we spoke about our concerns regarding the baby's skin tone. I tried to brush it off, thinking that the infant would darken after a few minutes of exposure. Having now had the kid for 5 months, I can't help but question whether she is really mine on a daily basis now. Her hair is quite fine. She has a very delicate appearance. No kinks. Curls can be seen in her hair, which is completely straight. I realize she's a baby, but I've seen many of newborns that have retained their natural curls at this age. She's also still rather pale, to be honest. With each passing day, she looks to be becoming more and more Asian in her appearance, which is something that has worried me the most. Her eyes are overly extended, and they are nothing like mine. I don't want to offend anybody, but her eyes are nothing like mine. Is it strange that I'm having doubts about my fiancé, when it would have never occurred to me to do so before? Is it simply my paranoia getting the better of me? What should I do in order to cope with this situation? What do you think? Is it really important for me to say something? The thought that the child is somehow mine, and that I would accuse her of sleeping with someone else, is my biggest fear at this point. I'm completely at a loss on what to do. Please be of service to me. Update. I'm not sure where to begin. Because my thoughts have been all over the place recently, one of the reasons I didn't publish right immediately was because I didn't want to overwhelm you with them. Many changes have occurred in my life, and I've had to cope with a great deal of stress. My daughter was not born to me as a biological kid. I feel a little part of me was mentally prepared for what I had to go through at first, despite the fact that it was really tough. I simply had a gut feeling about something. I hoped it wasn't real, and I told myself that I was just doing it to calm my anxiety, but I think I knew it was true deep down within me. I took a lot of the recommendations and thought about them for a couple of days. After deliberating on how to approach the situation, I requested that my fiancé leave the baby with her mother so that we may spend the night together. I was successful. I made dinner and then sought to engage in a conversation about current events and how our lives had changed after the birth of the baby. I said that I had been suffering from extreme anxiety, which I believed was exacerbated in part by the fact that I was told I was infertile 1 minute and then informed that we were having a child the next. This made her defensive since she realized where I was going with it very quickly. She went on to explain that miracles do happen, and that she couldn't believe that I didn't trust her when she said that. I told her that I understood where she was coming from, but I also asked if she could see things from her point of view, which she agreed to. We had a fight, and she ultimately declined to take the test. I reassured her that everything was okay, and that I would leave it to her to deal with it. I tried to dismiss it, but she brought it up again and again during the night, even after I apologized and vowed not to bring it up in the future. She went on to say that she couldn't believe I thought of her in that way, and that I should be glad that we had a gorgeous, healthy baby, instead of accusing her of cheating. She ended by saying that she couldn't believe I thought of her in that way. That's when I decided to start questioning her. Something didn't feel quite right, but I knew I had to go ahead and take the test nonetheless. I took the test the next day and waited a few days before writing the paper. By the end of the week, I'd figured out she wasn't mine after all. I sobbed uncontrollably for about 2 days because I couldn't handle it any longer and had no idea what to do. I made an effort to spend as little time as possible in the house since I knew she would realize something was wrong right away if she came home. I was at a loss for what to say to alert her that I was aware of what was going on. I also contemplated whether or not to say anything since I was concerned that it might have an impact on my daughter's behavior. After much deliberation, I decided to notify her. Her response was predictable. She argued that the exam was invalid and that I should just abandon it altogether. As I indicated, the clinic had stated that there was absolutely no possibility that this could have been an error. She insisted on denying it, and I couldn't believe she persisted to deceive me in front of my face after all this time. She threatened to leave and take the child, despite the fact that she had nowhere else to go since her own mother refused to become involved in the situation. Whenever we aren't dealing with the baby, we tend to neglect each other completely. My relief comes from the fact that she has indicated she would be out in 2 months. My primary concern right now is whether or not she has the legal authority to abduct the child. I cherish my child more than anything else in the world, yet I refuse to stay with this woman. I understand that the child is not of my blood, but would having my name on the birth certificate be beneficial to him? At the absolute least, I'd want to share joint custody of my children. In order to sustain the baby, I provide more than half of the necessary funds. She would be unable to care for the baby if I were not there to help her. She will not be able to cover the cost. Even though I realize it's improbable that I'll be able to get possession of my children, is it worthwhile to fight for split custody? I can't bear the thought of losing my daughter. As much as I abhor what my fiancé did, I don't hold a grudge against her personally. What I can't convey enough is how tough it is to cope with the death of someone I care about dearly while simultaneously knowing that they would do such a horrific crime. Having to cease things with her is bad enough, but I don't believe I can handle not seeing my child for an extended period of time. Please advise on how I may be able to fight for joint custody, if such a thing is even possible under the current conditions. Edit. If you feel the need to say things like she is not your daughter, please stop wasting your time. Obviously, I'm perfectly aware that she is not a blood relative of mine. That doesn't take away from the fact that I've been her main caretaker from the day she was born. I've been taking care of her, changing her diapers, feeding her, and so on. When I think about it, it baffles me that some of you don't have the decency to understand that after spending time with her, I refuse to say she's no longer my child. What is the most difficult thing about being a kind person? I understand that this is Reddit, and I realize that I'm probably asking too much of some of you.